Good morning, boys and girls. This is Miss Nancy coming to you from the Upper Chichester Library, ready for story time, and I hope you're ready for it as well. Today I have a nice winter story, and I also have a couple of Christmas stories for us to listen to. In fact, instead of doing a lot of old-fashioned nursery rhymes today, I thought I would do one of the nursery rhymes from called A Christmas Tree for Pooh, and this is from my Winnie the Pooh Christmas book. So here we are. It's called A Christmas Tree for Pooh. Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, standing in the snow, would you like to come with me? Okay, and off we'll go. Christmas tree, with your boughs outspread, a lovely vision you will be, decked out in green and red. Christmas tree, oh Christmas tree, wrapped in chains of light, now you're dressed for all to see, topped with a star so bright. So with that, I thought I would go ahead and read one of these stories about Christmas from Disney's Winnie the Pooh Christmas book. Now, let's see. It is called A Very Small Christmas. And this particular one is more about Piglet, who is one of Pooh's good friends. And here's the picture. Piglet loved almost everything about the night before Christmas. There was, for instance, the beautifully decorated Christmas tree that needn't be very tall or very wide. It could actually be a very small tree that suited the very small Piglet. And there were all the unopened presents spread out beneath the tree and hidden about the house, stashed under the bed, tucked away in the back of the drawer, nestled safely out of reach atop the shelves of the linen closet. Piglet so appreciated the looks of an artistically papered and beribboned present that he often wrapped and bowed empty boxes, simply because he got a Christmassy feeling that they gave him. And later, amid all the unwrapping, during which he was ever so careful not to tear the paper so it could be used again, he was occasionally surprised by a gift to which he treated himself and then forgotten all about. Piglet's very small memory was another thing he loved about Christmas. But the aspect of Christmas Eve that Piglet cherished most was the candles. Candles alit everywhere, flickering as decorations twinkled. And on a table next to his upholstered armchair, which had a ruffle around the bottom, sat another candle, as thick as a barber pole and sporting the same red, white, and blue stripes and topped by a bright yellow flame. There were candles in the kitchen, candles in the corridor, candles in the bedroom, and candles in the bath. With so many candles burning all at once, Piglet was especially careful to make certain that no accidents happened to his candles, or to himself, or to his very small but brightly illuminated home. The warm, waxy glimmering so pleased Piglet that he always waited until the last moment to kindle a fire in the fireplace, so as not to spoil too soon the flickering candlelights playing across the walls and ceiling. It made him feel very safe and serene and cared for, which helped him not to think about the one thing Piglet did not like about the night before Christmas. It was the same thing he didn't like about any night. They were all so very, very dark. You never realize, said Piglet, sighing to himself in a tiny voice, how short a day is until you are afraid of the dark. Piglet's consolation was that this Christmas he'd asked Santa to bring him a nightlight to keep him company on those very dark nights. A yawn suddenly widened Piglet's very small mouth, into a round sleepy O, and he stretched contentedly in the warm glow of his candles. Yawns never bothered Piglet, and although he always covered his mouth politely when they made themselves known, he was glad when they came. A yawn is simply a smile caught with its mouth open, he said. Oh, there, it looks like he's under the bed. Suddenly, a small scratching sound outside his snugly locked and bolted front door. Piglet dove for cover. When he found himself safely out of sight beneath his favorite upholstered armchair, he told himself in a reassuring voice, perhaps it was simply the wind. He wasn't reassured for long, though. The scratching sound began again. Piglet breathed a deep sigh of woe. Oh, suppose that I guess I should go see who it is, he said. A small start and a squeak of surprise escaped him when the scratching came again, as if agreeing that this was a very good idea indeed. As Piglet crawled out from under the upholstered armchair, an idea occurred to him. I don't have to open the door. I can simply take a very small peek out the window. Pushing a stool up to the windowsill just off to one side of his front door, Piglet clambered atop it and cautiously peered out through the glass. The door, however, was much too one side for him to see clearly, no matter how he flattened his nose against the cold, icy window panes. I suppose it wouldn't hurt to open the window just a little bit. But as soon as Piglet slid open the window, just the tiniest bit, a huge gust of wind chose that moment to blast through the crack and see what Christmas Eve was like inside the house. Now, as it was well known, gently flickering candle flames and a rough gusts of wind are not the best of acquaintances. In no time at all, the breeze blew through the room, into the kitchen, into the bedroom, blasted into the bath, and exited out the window that Piglet had been too surprised to close, until the damage had been done. Every candle in Piglet's house had been extinguished, and if it were possible, it was now darker inside than outside. At least, I certainly hope it's the wind that's moaning, he said. Suddenly, the scratching sound once again. To Piglet's great surprise, he noticed a small fluttering light, not inside his house, but emerging dimly, then brightly, then dimly again, through the crack beneath his securely fastened front door. Oh my, thought Piglet, if there is a light on the outside, then I'd be very foolish not to open the door. Without hesitating, the very small Piglet unlocked, unbolted, and threw open the heavy door. Piglet watched in amazement as a small flickering light blew into his house, caught in the breeze's grip and swirling and spinning out of control about the living room ceiling. Desperately trying to escape the clutches of the breeze, the flickering spot of light managed to grab hold and cling to the tip-top of Piglet's Christmas tree. Piglet watched the struggle in unopened wonder. That very high, very pointy part on the tree had always been a great disappointment to him because he could never reach high enough to decorate it properly. But now this mysterious light had arrived under such strange circumstances and made his tree more like a Christmas tree than he ever thought possible. And see, there's the light right on the top of his Christmas tree. It took a moment for Piglet to recover his amazement. As soon as the door began to close, of course, the pesky wind darted right back outside where it felt more at home, leaving Piglet alone with the bright twittering vigorously atop the Christmas tree, as though trying to regain its breath after the long struggle against the breeze. Piglet, now that his home was illuminated by this eerie yet warmly appealing light, was hesitant to relight his candles and spoil the marvelous show, almost like a display of tiny fireworks. He held out toward the light a plate of cookies cut into Christmas shapes. "Would you care for some refreshments?" Piglet asked politely. "You're very welcome here. In fact," Piglet said, "I'm very glad you came." As if in response, the light drifted down and settled at the tip of the Christmas tree-shaped cookie. Now Piglet could see that it wasn't just a light, but it was a tiny firefly. He couldn't tell if the insect was actually eating the cookie, but its light seemed to grow stronger, as if simply being close to a friendly someone was all the nourishment it needed. Piglet smiled. "It seems," Piglet suggested, "that you've been surprised by the arrival of winter." The lightning bug shimmered his agreement. "Well," said Piglet, "you're quite welcome to stay as long as you like." He picked up a candle in its holder, intending to light his way to bed. "As it's long past my bedtime," explained Piglet to the glowing firefly, "so if you'll excuse me, I must be off to sleep." Before he could leave, however, the firefly fluttered up and perched on the cold wick of the unlit candle in Piglet's hand. He was kind of blinking a question at Piglet. "Why, of course you may come with me," responded Piglet. And so Piglet had the very best night's sleep, Christmas Eve or otherwise, that he'd ever had, with his house guest twinkling merrily on his bedpost to the accompaniment of some very small snores, coming from Piglet, of course. The next morning was Christmas morning. Piglet and his firefly were up with the sun, going through the presents stuffed in Piglet's stocking. As Piglet reached the bottom, however, a look of consternation crossed his face. "Oh dear," he said, "Santa forgot to give me my night light, and that's what I wanted the most." The bug sparkled sympathetically. "He forgot your present too?" asked Piglet in surprise. "What did you ask him for?" The bug blinked in response. "A home out of the winter wind," murmured Piglet. Suddenly, like the sun rising and chasing off a night full of bad dreams, a thought occurred to Piglet. "You don't suppose that Santa was making this our best Christmas ever by bringing us together, do you?" The firefly blinked what seemed to Piglet's eyes to be a bright affirmation. "It simply goes to show," remarked Piglet that night as the firefly sat glowingly contented on the bedpost, "that sometimes the very small things at Christmas are the very best things." And the firefly twinkled his agreement. And that is the end of the Christmas story from the Pooh book. I'll read another one next week, until Christmas. I'll read one each week. Now, this is not so much a Christmas story, but it is a winter story, and it's called The Mitten. And it's retold by Jim Aylesworth and illustrated by Barbara McClintock. So let's find out what this story is about. Once upon a time, there was a happy little boy who loved to play. Yes, he did, like most little boys. In the spring, he loved to climb trees and peek in at baby birds. In the summer, he loved to chase the golden butterflies. In the autumn, he loved to play in piles of golden leaves. And in the winter, he loved to play in the white, white snow. And every winter, because she loved him, the little boy's grandmother would knit a great warm woolen hat that he could pull down over his little ears, a great long warm woolen scarf that he could wrap 2 times around his neck. and a pair of warm woolen mittens for his little hands. And on the cold, cold day of this story, the little boy dressed himself warmly in his hat and his scarf and his mittens, and he went outside to play. He played, and he played. Looks like he's doing Angels in the Snow here. And he played on his sled. But look what happened. Looks like he lost a mitten. When at last he came inside, it was discovered that one of his mittens was lost. "Oh, no," said the little boy. "Oh, don't worry," said his grandmother. "We'll find it tomorrow. You've had enough of being in the cold for one day." And because she loved him, she made him a mug of hot chocolate. In the meantime, just while the little boy was sipping his hot chocolate, a squirrel came along and saw the lost mitten lying in the snow. "Rrrr," said the squirrel. "My toes are cold as ice. The mitten looks so cozy and warm. Well, warming my toes would feel so nice." So the squirrel crawled into the little boy's mitten to warm his toes. The squirrel found the mitten quite warm and very comfortable, and soon he was so nice and toasty in there that he fell sound asleep. But just then along came a rabbit. "Brrr," said the rabbit. "Let me come in." "No room," said the squirrel. "Go away." "Oh, please," begged the rabbit. "My toes are cold as ice. Your mitten looks so cozy, and warm toes would feel so nice." "Oh, okay," said the squirrel. "You can come in." And the rabbit crawled in, as you can see. It was a bit tight in there for two. Nevertheless, with a little budging here, they were able to manage. And very soon, they were nice and toasty warm, and they fell sound asleep. But just then, along came a fox. "Brrr," said the fox. "Let me come in." "No room," said the rabbit. "No room," said the squirrel. "Go away." "Please," begged the fox. "My toes are cold as ice. Your mitten looks so cozy, and warm toes would feel so nice." "Oh, okay," said the rabbit. "Okay," said the squirrel. "You can come in." And the fox squeezed in. It was really crowded in there now with three. Nevertheless, the mittens stretched out enough, and soon they were nice and toasty and warm. But just when they had fallen sound asleep, along came a bear. "Rrrr," said the bear. "Let me come in." Oh, that is a big bear. I don't know how they're going to find room for him. "No room," said the fox. "No room," said the rabbit. "No room," said the squirrel. "Go away." "Please," begged the bear. "My toes are cold as ice. Your mitten looks so cozy, and warm toes would feel so nice." "Oh, okay," said the fox. "Okay," said the rabbit. "Okay," said the squirrel. "You can come in." The bear squeezed and pushed, and squeezed and pushed, and squeezed and pushed, until at last he got himself in. Oh, that is a very stretched out mitten, isn't it? It was very cramped in there with the four of them, all squished together like that. Still, they were nice and toasty warm, and soon they all fell sound asleep. But just then along came a little mouse. "Brrr," said the little mouse in a teeny tiny voice. "Let me come in." "No room," said the bear. "No room," said the fox. "No room," said the rabbit. "No room," said the squirrel. "Go away." "Please," begged the little mouse. "My toes are cold as ice. Your mitten looks so cozy, and warm toes would feel so nice." "We can't," said the bear. "Too full," said the fox. "Go away," said the rabbit. "Impossible," said the squirrel. "Go away." "Please," said the little mouse in a little tiny voice. "I'm just a tiny little mouse." "Oh, okay," said the bear. "Okay," said the fox. "Okay," said the rabbit. "Okay," said the squirrel. "You can come in." And they all held their breath while the little mouse carefully squeezed into the teeny tiny spot. And for a minute, all was well, until suddenly the bear and the fox and the rabbit and the squirrel all had to take a great big deep breath of air, and as they did, what do you think happened? The mitten burst apart and spilled them all out into the snow. Now that is quite a picture. That is mitten yarn everywhere. It looks like they all tumbled out head over first. "Oh, what a shame," said the bear. "What a shame," said the fox. "What a shame," said the rabbit. "What a shame," said the squirrel. "Oh, it is," said the little mouse. "A terrible, terrible shame." And one by one, the mouse, the bear, the fox, the rabbit, and the squirrel all went off to find another place to warm their toes. In the morning, the little boy and his grandmother went looking for the lost mitten. Soon they came upon the bits and pieces of yarn lying in the snow. You can see it's all over here. "What could have happened?" asked the little boy. "I have no idea," said Grandmother. "But don't worry, I can knit another one." And because she loved him, that's exactly what she did. She sat down and knitted him another glove. And that is the end of that story. It's kind of a winter story. Now I have another Christmas story. And this one is called The Nutcracker. And let's see. The illustrations are by Linda Graves and Susan Spellman. It's an old story. One Christmas Eve in Germany, a long time ago, Marie and her brother Fritz were opening some of their gifts. They had many wonderful presents. They received dolls, toy soldiers, and picture books. But Marie's favorite gift was from her dear godmother, Dr. Drosselmeyer. It was a wooden nutcracker carved to look like an old soldier. What Marie did not know was that the nutcracker was enchanted. That same evening, there was a great Christmas party for Fritz, Marie, and their young cousins and friends. Everyone was having a great time. Dr. Drosselmeyer set up a stage and gave a wonderful puppet show. The little puppets danced while the children watched and laughed and clapped. Through the whole puppet show, Marie held her favorite gift, the nutcracker. After the show, Fritz started to dance around like a puppet. He took the nutcracker from Marie and held it high above his head. But then Fritz stumbled and dropped the nutcracker. When Marie ran to pick up her favorite gift, she saw that its wooden jaw was broken. "Oh no," she cried. "Let me fix you, my poor little nutcracker." She carefully tied the nutcracker back together with her handkerchief and put it under the Christmas tree. Late that night, Marie tiptoed down the stairs to the parlor. She picked up her nutcracker and saw that its jaw was not broken anymore. The nutcracker also seemed to be changing before her very eyes. He became a handsome prince. He bowed to Marie and thanked her. He said that her kind act had broken a spell that had been cast over him. Just then, Marie saw an army of huge mice enter the room. They were led by a mouse king who had 7 heads and carried a sword. Suddenly, out of Fritz's gift box sprang a whole troop of toy soldiers that grew to life size as soon as they stepped out of the box. The prince led the toy soldiers into a great battle against the Mouse King and his army. You can see all the mice back here. And what a battle it was! Back and forth the 2 armies went. Suddenly, Marie saw her chance to help the prince. She took off her slipper and threw it with all her might at the Mouse King. Down he went. As quickly as they had come, the gray mice ran away. The prince was now free to go home to his own land. "Would you like to come with me?" he asked Marie. "Oh, yes," she said. The prince raised his arms, and suddenly Marie found herself in the Nutcracker prince's kingdom. "Welcome to the land of sweets," said the prince. Marie saw sights she had never dreamed of. All the houses were made of peppermint sticks and chocolate. Marie and the prince traveled down a river of lemonade in a little boat shaped like a seashell. Finally, they arrived at the sugar castle of the Sugar Plum Fairy. The prince told her how Marie had rescued him. When the Sugar Plum Fairy heard this, she decided to throw a big party. Everyone in the land of sweets came. The Sugar Plum Fairy did a graceful fairy dance. Next came a parade of dancers from all over the world. Marie had never seen such sights. There were chocolate dancers, candy dancers, and even enchanted dancing flowers. Everyone joined in the dancing, but Marie was a little afraid to dance. Then the Nutcracker Prince came to her and said, "All this dancing is for you, Marie. You must dance too." So Marie and the prince whirled and whirled and whirled. And that is the end of the Nutcracker, which is a wonderful, famous old story that has been shown